Okay, good morning, everyone. Today is Wednesday, February 9th, 2022, and we would like to welcome everyone to the board meeting. We will call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. sharp. You can join today's board meeting via phone, dial 971-254-3149. Conference ID is 736-023-979#. Audio capabilities are listen only and are offered on the best effort for the public. Our meeting is also live streamed, and you can join us by going online to tctvonline.com and click live broadcast. Masks, face coverings, or face shields must be worn in the courthouse by state order. Masks must be worn while giving comment. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to please mute your phones. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute your phone when your agenda item is ready to be discussed. For those joining via computer, please unmute your microphone and turn on your camera when your agenda item is called. All others must remain muted with their cameras turned off. Thank you. So public comment. Those providing public comment to the board may attend in person or email submissions to public comments at submissions to public comments at co.tillamook.or.us. Public comments received by 12 p.m. on Tuesday will be distributed to the board, posted online before the meeting, and become part of the public record. Public comments can also be mailed to the Board of Commissioners Office, 201 Laurel Avenue, Tillamook, Oregon, 97141. For more information on public comment options, please visit the Board of Commissioners webpage. And I did forget one sentence here. I'm going to go back just one paragraph. You may also provide public comment virtually by registering ahead of time. To register, please email, again, public comments at co.tillamook.or.us, again, by 12 p.m. on the Tuesday prior to the board meeting. So with that, I want to welcome everyone and ask anyone in the room to please sign our sign-in sheet. If you do wish to make public comment today, while you're in the, we'll get into that in just a moment. If you do want to make public comment and you are in the room, please make sure that you are on our list this morning. So, again, I want to welcome everyone, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Scar, would you lead us, please?
I would be happy to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I believe, before we get started here, I believe our IS Director, Damien Laviolette, wanted to make a quick, I understand there may be some problems with Microsoft today. So Damien, the floor is yours.
Yes, just real quick, Commissioners, Microsoft enterprise-wide, so Microsoft's cloud for Teams has been experiencing some technical difficulties. We, as of right now, are not experiencing those issues, but we may during the period that this meeting is scheduled for. So if you have an issue and you get booted or drop, or the whole entire session or the county should drop, we will immediately try to reestablish the session and bring it back online. So if you experience a drop or are booted from our team session, please just try to connect back, and we will try to get the session back up as quickly as possible. Again, as of right now, we're not experiencing that problem, and we hope to not have it throughout the course of this call.
Thank you, Damien. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Chair Yamamoto, you also want to just reference how folks can join live stream that Jane is doing, because that does typically stay online when our Teams falls off.
And that's a great idea. So anybody that's online now, especially, please know that if you're kicked off and have a problem with Teams, you can go to a live broadcast. Jane Scott Video Productions, a live broadcast this meeting, and you can go to TCTV Online, one word, tctvonline.com, and then click on live broadcasts. So that's another option for you also. And one other thing, I'm not sure this would work, but probably. So if, again, you're having a problem with the Teams issue, I think you can just dial the number on a phone, and do we have that number?
Commissioner,
Yes,
you can dial a number on a phone, but it takes you to the Teams
The Teams?
meeting. So it's an option, but it.
And it may or may not work. okay,
Yeah.
okay. So, again, we're trying to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. Oh, I have the number right here. So, if you're kicked off of Teams and you want to use a phone, dial 971-254-3149. Conference ID is 736-023-979#. Another option for you. So, non-agenda items, I just need to mention that Commissioner Bell is off on a well-deserved vacation and is out of office today. So let's start with our, do we have any other non-agenda items?
So I just wanted to make a comment, Chair Yamamoto, if I may.
Absolutely, please.
So I wanted to just take a quick moment and thank everyone who took the time to email me over this last week regarding the Oceanside hearings that were held the last 2 weeks. I received, I think I counted 88 emails, and I'm not sure that I even caught them all, but I appreciate everyone taking the time. I heard from people who agreed with our decision as well as those who disagreed with our decision. And it is a very complicated process, and I know that it has very real consequences for everyone involved, both those who are inside what was the proposed city boundary and those that are outside. It is a quasi-judicial proceeding, which means that we are not able to respond to those emails on an individual basis. But I do want to thank people for sending them and assure them that we have received the emails. We just are not able to respond due to the quasi-judicial nature of the decision.
Thank you, Commissioner Scar. And you just reminded me that I missed agenda item number 3, which is public comment. So, Isabel, did we have anyone sign up for public comment virtually yesterday before noon?
We did not.
Did not. And do we have anyone in the room that would like to make public comment? Hearing none. So we'll move on again to item number 5, our consent calendar. Our consent calendar is a modification of off-premises liquor license for Cape Kiwanda RV Resort and Marketplace, and new off-premises liquor license for Ritual, 97135 in Pacific City. So, I don't believe, who would normally present this? This has been approved by the health department, correct?
Yeah, you just approve it.
This is just
You just make one.
our consent calendar.
You make a motion to approve the
To
consent calendar.
approve this
Unless there's
consent
questions.
calendar.
If I may ask just for clarification, because how quickly I forget, I can move simply to approve the consent calendar. I don't have to read the entire title on this one, is that correct? Okay, then, Chair Yamamoto, I would make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Thank you for the motion, and I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to item number 6, discussion and consideration of a letter of support to the Oregon Department of Transportation regarding the Tillamook County Transportation District's Pacific City Shuttle Vehicle Grant application. And with us this morning online, we have Doug Palant, General Manager, Tillamook County Transportation District. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning. I can see that I don't look that great on the screen here.
You look fine.
Anyway, I'd hoped to have been there in person, but I developed this cough, and I don't want to be the only person or that guy in the room who's radioactive, so I decided to join virtually today. So Tillamook County Transportation District is interested in purchasing a couple of trolleys to use in Pacific City. ODOT currently has a vehicle expansion grant opportunity that I've been filling out to make a case to justify the expansion of our fleet so that we can have trolleys to provide the PC shuttle. And as I was writing the narrative about the evolution of the project, it occurred to me that over the last 8 or 9 years that the district and county have been primarily been in working together as partners in the development of especially the parking management plan. And so as I was going through this, it occurred to me that a letter of support from the Tillamook County Board of Commissioners would strengthen this application. So I'm here today to request the board's support for the district's application to expand its fleet to add 2 trolleys. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Doug?
You know, I don't have any questions, but Doug, I love the idea. In reading the justification, you know, that trolleys just draw a different kind of attention from the public and an awareness for the public that this isn't just a regular bus. It's like, oh, there's a trolley, and immediately I know for me, when I'm touristing and I see a trolley, I think, oh, I bet that's for me. So I love the idea of having that service, which we have had, which has moved just hundreds and hundreds, I think thousands of visitors among the areas in Pacific City without having to have the traffic of each person being an individually in a car. But just the idea that the trolleys would visually invite more people to participate in that service, and therefore, again, further reduce that traffic and the parking nightmares and the things that have befallen Pacific City with its increase in visitors. So I'm 100% in support, and of course the transportation district in Tillamook County is just fabulous. We are so lucky. There are so many rural areas that just don't have the quality of transportation that we do in terms of public transportation. So I just want to thank Doug for that while I have the opportunity.
Well, gee,
Thank you.
You didn't leave me much to say, Commissioner. But no, I too think Tillamook Transportation District, Doug, you just do a terrific job. You really do. You go above and beyond. When we need buses for tours of Tillamook County, via Tillamook Working Lands and Waters Cooperative, things you've done for Pacific City to help alleviate a lot of the congestion. Again, you're one of the great partners that we have in Tillamook County, and I for one appreciate everything you do so much. I do.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. So I think we're looking for a motion.
All right, well then, in consideration of a letter of support to the Oregon Department of Transportation regarding the Tillamook County Transportation District Pacific City Shuttle Vehicle Grant Application, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you so much, Doug, for being with us.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to item number 7, discussion and consideration of intergovernmental agreement number 6177 with the State of Oregon. Corrections. For the Tillamook County Community Corrections Biennial Plan for Grant in Aid. And with us this morning, we've got Lieutenant Ani Seaholm from the Sheriff's Office. Good morning, Ani.
Good morning, Commissioners. So this is the intergovernmental agreement number 6177. This focuses on our biennial plan for the state, mainly grant and aid. So just an overview of our funding sources that you'll see in this plan. Grant and aid is our biggest funding source through the state. Grant and aid is developed based on snapshots throughout the year, looking at caseload sizes throughout the state. And then there's a forecasted budget that's prepared, the legislature approves it, and then that amount for community corrections is distributed based on a percentage allocation throughout the 36 counties. Measure 57 is another, well, let me back up really quick. Grant and aid is also only focusing on funded cases. So not any of the cases that are non-funded, which would be a various amount of misdemeanors. Measure 57 focuses on a specific population, that's property crime and drug crimes. Then we have our justice reinvestment and our behavioral health court grant, which is also a criminal justice commission grant. And we have some other things like carryover that's in there and carryover supervision fees, which I'll go into more in a minute. A couple notable things that I should mention for this.
Oops. Ani, I think we lost your audio.
Probably not you, it's probably you.
No, can you hear me now?
Yes,
You're
thank
back.
you. Perfect.
It's probably me. I'm bad at all this technology. So I'm not sure where you guys lost me, but a couple notable things. Senate Bill 620 was passed, which eliminated the collection and ability to bill for supervision fees. And then Senate Bill 497 was passed, which added a few new ORSs that are now considered a funded case. So how that impacts us is we relied on supervision fees to help offset costs of a non-funded population. We've historically taken on non-funded cases that pertain to person-to-person crimes and DUIs because of the community safety. Senate Bill 497, though, is adding in some of those cases that we already typically took that were non-funded, and those would be misdemeanor domestic violence cases and misdemeanor sex offense cases. Grant and aid now is, they backfilled some of the supervision fee costs and compiled that into grant and aid. So we did get some of that money in addition in our grant and aid, but where it kind of binds us is it's only supposed to be used for funded cases, if that makes sense. So we do have some carryover, like I mentioned, with some of our supervision fees from the past. It's not a long-term solution for funding for these non-funded cases, but for right now, we're still kind of figuring out that direction and how that's going to go. And also, now that we are going to get provided some funding for some of those cases that we already took. So I think in the future, we're really going to have to dive into that and see where our numbers land as far as funded versus non-funded cases. Going more into the plan, this plan looks at everything from staff down to office supplies. We currently supervise about 250 justice-involved individuals, and that's the combination between funded and non-funded. This doesn't include any of the outcounts, like those JIIs that are absconding from supervision, or those that have been successful and are put on an inactive, kind of in the background supervision. Typically, about a third of our cases are unfunded. We have seen lower numbers recently as far as total caseload or total overall cases that we are supervising, but the workload shifted, especially in the last few years of what we do. A colleague of mine from another county once talked about this at a meeting, and I think it's a good way to put it. Several years ago, even 10 years ago, a job of a parole and probation officer was more like a referee. You call out violations, you address the violations, you put the person back out in the community. Now it's more like a coach. We're really laboring with these individuals, doing thorough risk assessments, trying to figure out case plans, addressing risk and needs. So you're still holding them accountable, calling out violations, if you will, but then also trying to guide them and coach them in a more appropriate direction. So with that said, we've had a shift in caseload in what we also do. Risk assessments can take up to an hour and a half, sometimes longer than that. So it can be pretty timely. We also have behavioral health court now. We have one PO that's a main PO for that. And that's a different shift in work. It's been a very good program, and I think there's been a lot of success out of it, but it's a very time-intensive program. Right now, we currently have 3 POs. We just hired one about a month ago, so that's been a great addition. We still have an open PO position. So we have one office support person or office specialist, and that's what this plan also funds is, like I said, all of our staff. The 3 POs and myself, and I also carry a caseload. We have one open PO position, and as you'll see in this plan, we are hoping to get back a PO tech position, which would be helpful for support staff. Other things that the funds go to are any of our programs. So treatment programs, subsidy programs, that includes housing, employment programs like our food handlers card. We work with Tillamook Bay Community College to offer educational opportunities, alternative custody sanctions, just a variety of different things. Also, a large portion goes to the corrections division or the jail, and that's for sanctioned beds and then 1145 beds. So the 1145 population is those that would be serving a prison sentence, but since it's less than a year, they actually do it here at the county jail. And so the funding that comes through us, that also gets shifted over to the corrections to provide funding for the costs for those inmates or those adults in custody. So if there's any specific questions on any of the
Ani, I think we lost your audio again.
Okay,
There
am
you
I
go.
there?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. Do you have any specific questions or anything that I can elaborate more on with the plan?
Commissioner Scar?
I would just thank Ani for all of the work putting the plan together. And the plan is just the tip of the iceberg, and then the work begins to implement the plan. So the plan itself is cumbersome, but it is nothing compared to the level of difficult work that Ani and her POs do. And coming from a social work sort of background myself, I have so much respect for what Ani's talking about in terms of the transition that Corrections has made in the last 10 years, moving from that referee to that coach. I mean, I look at them now and I see them all as case managers and social workers, because they really, their job is to provide the support so that we do not have folks reoffending, we do not have folks going back to our jails. And that is really hard work with the population that she has. So I just have the utmost respect. And just to, I think, reference for the community, the budget for community corrections is over $2 million per year. This is a large department that does a lot of work in our community. So when we think about county budgets, I know people always want to know, well, where is my money going, right? Community corrections is basically funded through the state of Oregon. So there's a very limited amount, I believe, of your tax dollars that go directly to community corrections. The rest of the sheriff's department is funded through your tax dollars, but community corrections is largely funded through the state, which are the contracts that we're looking at today and agreements. So that's what I would share, and just huge thanks to Ani for all the work she does.
Absolutely. And Ani, that was a terrific explanation, very detailed explanation of some of the bits and pieces that work into this, and I know it's much, much more complicated than that. But again, I appreciate everything you're doing there, and I appreciate the explanation that you just went through. So with that, I think we're looking for a motion.
Okay, Mr. Chair, consideration of intergovernmental agreement number 6177 with the State of Oregon Department of Corrections for the Tillamook County Community Corrections Biennial Plan for grant and aid. I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Ani, you have the next one also, item number 8. Discussion and consideration of intergovernmental agreement number 6212 with the State of Oregon Department of Corrections. Again, for the Tillamook County Community Corrections Biennial Plan for Measure 57. Ani.
Thanks again. So, yes, I am off mute. Okay, so this one is for Measure 57. This is also included in the biennial plan that I just went over, but since this is a separate funding source through the state, it has to have its own plan and budget. And so this, like I mentioned before, Measure 57 is targeted at a specific population for property and drug crimes. And so this plan looks at treatment, UA testing, supervision for those type of justice-involved individuals, and then we're trying to look at some avenues for peer support. So that's added in here as well. And this is, it's about, I want to say 85,000, a hair under for the 2 years.
Perfect. Comments?
No.
Yep, I think we're good. Looking for a motion.
All right. So, Mr. Chair, in consideration of intergovernmental agreement number 6212 with the State of Oregon Department of Corrections for the Tillamook County Community Corrections Biennial Plan for Measure 57, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Ani. Moving on to item number 9. And again, this is in relationship to what's going on here. Item number 9 is discussion and consideration of a letter to the Oregon Department of Corrections approving the 2021-2023 Community Corrections Biennial Plan for Tillamook County. Commissioner Scar.
Well, and I'm going to let Ani carry this since she's with us today. I think as the chair of LIPSIC, it was placed in my name, but
Okay.
I think Ani is probably better suited than I, so I'll let her handle this if you're okay with that, Lieutenant.
Sure. So with our biennial plan, it has to go before the local public safety coordinating council for review, and that was reviewed and got a lot of responses back. Commissioner Scar is our LIPSIC chair, so there has to be a letter that's provided a letter of transmittal from the local public safety coordinating council to the county governing board. So that's one piece of it, and then if the board decides that they would like to also provide a letter of support for the plan, then they can. So.
Super, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Are we good?
I believe that we are, if you're ready.
Yes.
So, in consideration of a letter to the Oregon Department of Corrections approving the 2021-2023 Community Corrections Biennial Plan for Tillamook County, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Lieutenant Sion, thank you so much for everything you're doing there. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, commissioners.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, discussion and consideration of amendment number 2 to the Oregon Department of Transportation Local Agency Agreement number 31443, Emergency Relief Program for the Dry Creek Bridge and Crystal Creek Bridge, Miami Foley Road in Tillamook County. And we've got Chris Lady, Director of Public Works. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hey, you're still under that same bridge. What's going on there?
Actually, I was going to change it.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. That's a little better.
I'm not sure that's better. I don't think I like that picture.
Actually, that is better as I start to go through these agenda items.
There you go.
So agenda item number 1, or 10 rather, is specific to the Dry Creek and Crystal Creek program. There's a couple changes that took place. One, they've modified the project name to read Dry Creek Bridge and Crystal Creek Bridge, Miami Foley Road. The picture, the image that you have behind me is one of the culverts that blew out in 2015, which is what this agreement is related to. So when we have a disaster, there's a couple things that happen. One is that we have an immediate response that occurs, of which the county goes out there and cleans up the mess. They install a temporary measure in order to get the water flowing. These particular cases, we installed some culverts. Now we get into the long-term planning as far as constructing replacement structures. So this is where we get into the emergency relief program dating back to the 2015 storm event. So we've changed the name to better reflect what's actually out there and to meet current standards. The second thing that's happened, because the project has been ongoing since 2015, ODOT manages the contract with a consultant. We saw an increased amount through there. So the total cost for the construction and design of Crystal Creek and Dry Creek was $2,646,000 and change. Portion of that would be, it identifies the amount of money that ODOT puts into it, but the county is required to put in 10.27%. So this agreement increases our county obligation by $10,270. Total cost of the county would contribute to the project of Dry Creek and Crystal Creek would be $271,744.20, subject to change. We are seeing right now some items out there increasing up to 30%. So that is that number, subject to change, will likely increase. One example associated with that is the Cape Mears Loop Road. The Cape Mears Loop Road had a construction cost estimate, conservative, we thought, at $17 million, included a really fat contingency. The actual bids came in at $19 million. That project is primarily funded through FLAT grants, which is the Federal Lands Access Program. Coincidentally, the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act for the recently passed federal transportation bill actually decreased funding to that program to Oregon by $42 million. So that's the infrastructure grant, our infrastructure program federal bill that was passed. So getting Cape Mears Loop funded and constructed was very critical because of the $42 million loss that Oregon receives. So 30% increase is certainly a possibility. So we will see a net increase of $10,270, and the project name will change, and that covers the amendment number 2 to the program.
Mr.
it is amazing that we're still dealing with things from the storm of 2015. And yet, when you look at the price tag and the difficulty of the work to be done, you can see why that is. I think my question, Chris, is so we are entering into this agreement today, and yet we are expecting that this agreement may in fact have to change again as costs increase. So is it just because the prior agreement was ending that we couldn't wait until it was ready and we knew how much it would ultimately be?
Yep, hopefully things haven't frozen.
I think they've frozen. Chris rarely takes a pause like that. He generally knows exactly what
Oh,
it
there
is.
you're, I think you're
There
coming
you
back. There
Oh,
you
you're
go.
back.
You're back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
We can. Did you hear
Oh,
my
okay.
question?
So as the plans are advancing, the plans are, what is the title to the program? The title to the program needs to change because of all the programming that ODOT does. Because it's been so long, the design engineer has increased their funds to offset one more complicated bridge structure that was attended. Two is the additional cost of design services in order to do the work. So it's not that the project grants were ending. It's not a grant, number one. It is a programmatic funding source from ODOT. So it's not a grant per se. The agreement at some point will need to extend it. But what we are seeing is that when we get through design at that point, which is slated for construction right now in 2023. So 2015 storm event will be built in 2015, the same as we'll see for at Dick Creek in the next agenda item. So it's really ODOT's way of playing catch up. And my time is always paid off.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, kind of makes sense. Chris, again, I appreciate everything you do to keep our transportation system in Tillman County operational. I know it's tough at times. I do. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay. In consideration of amendment number 2 to Oregon Department of Transportation Local Agency Agreement number 31443, Emergency Relief Program for the Dry Creek Bridge and Crystal Creek Bridge, Miami Foley Road in Tillamook County, I move approval.
And I will second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chris. And as you mentioned, you've also got item number 11, discussion and consideration of amendment number 2, again, to the Department of Transportation Local Agency Agreement number 31444, Emergency Relief Program for the Dick Creek Bridge, Bay Ocean Road, at milepost 2.39 in Tillamook County. Chris?
So this is also twofold, the same reasons. One, the project title, the project title has been changed to reflect current standards on how ODOT names things. So you'll see a name change from Tillamook Bay Reach Bay Ocean Road at milepost 2.39, changed to Dick Creek Bridge / Bay Ocean Road, or parentheses, Bay Ocean Road. And that would be being consistent with normal ODOT project naming conventions. Again, ODOT manages the contract with the design consultant, and they're at the stage now where they need to standardize the naming conventions because it's going to go on all the different documents from this point moving forward. So we get into the terms of agreement. These two projects, Dry Creek, Crystal Creek, and Dick Creek, are all under one contract with the design consultant. The design consultant is OTAC. What they did for the design increase was they split the difference between the two agreements, the cost difference. And we also see an increased cost to us of $10,270. So the overall project had increased, but when you take our 10.27%, which is our obligation and our commitment, we saw a net increase of $10,270. So where does the county come up with that additional $10,270? Coincidentally, the Infrastructure Investments and Jobs Act, the money that is associated with that Oregon will see $29 million that is specific towards these type of projects. The cities and counties will receive $29 million. Tillamook County share of that is $22,000. That is our net overall increase that you will see. So when the public comes and all of a sudden Tillamook County is flush with a lot of money from that federal program, the answer to that is no. So we'll see a net $22,000 increase. It certainly opens up the avenue, opens up the doors for additional grant funding, primarily for bridges. But of that $22,000, that offsets the $10,270 for each of the two agreements. So functionally, the federal program pays for the increased cost of the two bridges. Today, inflation cost will exceed the cost of the federal grant or the federal transportation bill.
Chris, I hope you're saving your pennies.
I have a lot of pennies and they just keep falling through my fingers.
I know.
Yeah, it is amazing. The county got our CAFR, comprehensive audited financial report. I got my copy of it yesterday and I was going through it and looking at, what are the assets of the county? And really, the biggest number when you get into our asset list and look at where that lands with our public works, and it's our roads and bridges and all of those things that we are responsible for and have financial ownership of that are out in the county. So you're right, Chris, you need a lot of pennies, and I don't think there'll ever be enough, unfortunately, for our roads. But appreciate the continued work to work with the federal agencies to get the money that we can to get these things replaced.
So that just reminds me that Chris is the steward of the vast majority of assets that we have here in Tillamook County.
Yes.
Thank you for what you do, Chris. I think we're looking for a motion.
Okay, in consideration of amendment number 2 to Oregon Department of Transportation Local Agency Agreement number 3144, Emergency Relief Program for the Dick Creek Bridge, Bay Ocean Road at milepost 2.39 in Tillamook County, I move approval.
And I would just make one, we've got 1-4.
Uh-oh.
Agreement number 31444.
Thank you, as amended.
As amended, perfect. I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Chris. Item number 12, discussion and consideration of an order in the matter of declaring county-owned property as surplus. And with us this morning again, Damien Laviolette, Director of Information Services. Damien.
Thank you, Commissioners. This item is for 2 pieces of surplus technology from the Sheriff's Office. As we move them to the new audiovisual solution that they're having put in place at their Justice Center, these 2 pieces of equipment are no longer needed and they will not be utilized anywhere else in the county. So we would like permission from the BOCC or the Commissioners to surplus the equipment.
Okay. Seems pretty straightforward. Any questions?
No questions, Chair.
Looking for a motion.
Okay. In consideration of an order in the matter of declaring county-owned property as surplus, I move approval.
And I would second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you, Damien, and thanks for keeping
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks for keeping our team system up so far this morning.
So far, so good.
So, we will have to recess this meeting. We have a 10 a.m. time certain third public hearing for discussion and consideration of the possible incorporation of unincorporated community of Oceanside. So with that, time being 9:39 a.m., we will recess this meeting and come back in at 10 a.m. Thank you.